If there was someone born on the wrong side of cool, it must be Rebecca Minkoff. Despite being the it girl brand, loved by Lindsay Lohan, Blake Lively, Jessica Alba, Hilary Duff, the OG girl boss, casually in Forbes Elle Inc. scaled to over $100 million in annual revenue, in 900 plus retail locations worldwide, over 4 million bags sold, supported 25,000 plus women-led businesses, raised over $40 million, wrote a book, and on the Real Housewives of New York. But somehow, there is a way to mess everything up. You were called quote unquote boring after the show.
No, during the show.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, during. I'll still take 23 grand a year.
Scientology and your association with it.
My prenup was...
Welcome to the Marketing Bestie podcast, joined by the smartest founders, CMOs, and culture shapers to help you and your business unlock your unlimited potential. All resources are linked below. And as you'll see, we have a slightly different background today because we're in New York with Rebecca at WTF Studios. And booking stays, not just in New York, can easily get to $1,000 a night. But as you'll hear from Rebecca too, wasting money is never a good business choice. And there's a secret tool I used to find better rates on hotels and rental stays for free. Directo. All you need to do is to click the Directo link in the description, install the free desktop Chrome extension and pin it, and Directo will automatically help you cut out middlemen and extra fees. While you browse your usual travel sites like Airbnb, Vrbo, or Booking.com, when the Directo logo appears, that means a direct booking option exists. And it can save you hundreds of dollars just because you have the extension. Game changer. Add the extension to your browser now so you'll never have to pay middlemen and extra fees again. Don't wait because you will forget and end up paying extra. As you'll hear from Rebecca, success is all about taking the actions. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, so happy you're here.
Look what happens, the magic of Instagram, right?
I know. I'm so glad we connected. So we all know that you built this amazing $70 million fashion brand, Rebecca Minkoff, but not many people remember that the brand began as a t-shirt company and business. As the queen of rebrand, how and when do you know to pivot?
I think that sometimes it's so clear. You know, I think for us with the bag transitioning to bags, it was so clear. The momentum behind the bag was outside of our own push and so strong that it was like, all right, let's just focus on this baby and like see where it takes us. I think other times it's hard to know when to pivot. And sometimes the more emotionally connected you are or invested in something, it can be really hard. And there were times where I was probably too emotionally invested in a certain category or a certain opportunity, and it was hard to pull out, and we should have pulled out a lot sooner. And I think that you learn, right? You learn the hard way. You either rack up a big bill or you have a lot of inventory that about something that didn't work. And I like to believe it's like a muscle that the more that happens, hopefully not too many times, you are like, all right, let me trust my gut. Like something's not working, cut the emotion out of it and just move fast. And I think women can be really afraid to admit failure, and they can be so far deep that, you know, it's kind of like, well, I got to keep going. I'm in it so far.
Yeah.
And so I try and change my perspective. Like, I know I'm in deep on this, but I can get out now and I can pivot and I can use that wealth of experience to be more successful in something else.
That's true. What was the hardest pullback you had to make?
I think emotionally, it was when we had to pull out of clothing and just focus on bags. And I think that was a really hard moment. I think another hard moment is I had been so focused on really speaking to my customer as she evolved with me and as I was getting married or having kids, that messaging. And we made a bad hire, and that person came in as CMO and thought we should freeze our customer at a certain age.
Oh.
And I didn't agree, but I was also like, well, I don't have a doctorate in this, so maybe they know better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was really hard because I could no longer identify with messaging that didn't speak to what I was going through as a woman. I was kind of done with the club days and I was done looking for the guy. And I know what that's like, but to continuously and only kind of have that be our girl was really hard for me. And I knew that was wrong. And I fought it and fought it and fought it until we pivoted again and went back to like just catching the woman on all parts of her journey. But that was really hard because I knew it was wrong, and it, you know, and I had the inability to change that.
Oh, wow. I think the terms intuition and passion are thrown out a lot in the space of entrepreneurship and the arts. I want to start with intuition. How important is it for you as a designer and as an entrepreneur running a business?
There is the seed of intuition, and, as an artist, that's, the ones that make it. People like their things because of their intuition and because of their talent. There are obviously a lot of brands built by smart people who maybe were in Wall Street or in finance who knew how to build a big brand,
Mhm.
and then they usually have to hire the artist to make it look and come to life. But I always go back to that spark. What was that initial spark, that purpose, that desire that you had?
Mhm.
And that's what you should always stay close to. And if you lose it, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx,
Uh-huh.
she talks about listening to it and finding it. And you have to find it in moments of silence. You like on a walk, or she goes and looks at the moon, like away from devices. Like, where do you go back to find that original point that started everything?
Interesting. Have you ever lost touch with that spark?
Oh my gosh.
Because
Yes.
I think I read either in your book or listened to one of your podcasts where you said burnout is not lighting scented candles and then you're like fine. It's losing touch with your purpose.
It's losing touch with your purpose. When I look at how hard I worked and how many hours I worked, and now I compare it today with modern day, like quiet quitting and do the least you can and don't do more if you're asked unless you get a raise and a title increase. I think that if everyone was working on their purpose, you're actually fueled by your work.
Mhm.
And if you're not fueled by your work, you're in the wrong industry or you've got to recapture your purpose. This doesn't mean that you just work 24/7 and you never sleep.
Right.
But that is going to be part of the game if you want to be successful, whether you're working for someone else or you're working for yourself. There's that hustle that you have to have, especially in the build phase. And you better like it because you're dedicating a lot of your time and energy. I mean, before kids, it was almost all of my time, but it was fun. It was exciting. It was like, oh my God, another store ordered, or oh my God, I got to stay up all night and work on this new pitch. Like that was exciting because you're achieving your dream in a way.
Absolutely. What was the initial spark for you that really spoke to you?
I mean, I've been designing since I was like a child, like making jewelry. And I just
Right.
found old pictures of like my spin art sweatshirts and my puffy paint,
Your Barbie outfits, right?
my Barbie outfits. Yeah. So for me, I think I've always had it in me. I didn't know which shape it was going to take. And it took shape mostly in high school when I started really learning the craft and art of draping and pattern making and design. And that's when I knew I was like, oh, I love this. I also love dance. And I came here kind of being like, which one am I going to pick?
Mm.
And I had a very clear moment where I was working for a designer and dancing on the side, and I saw Baryshnikov come down the hill, and I was like, "If I can't have him, like what he has as a dancer, I don't want this career." Like, I don't wanna work, again, 24 hours a day to be a dancer and never achieve anything, never make an impact, and I felt like I had a stronger chance of making an impact as a designer than I did a dancer, so that was when I really just said, "Okay, I'm doubling down here."
That's also like a tough decision because sometimes having choices is almost as painful as not having choices in a sense.
Yeah. I think the biggest point of pain is when you're in the middle and you haven't decided. To
Yes.
me, that indecision always is like, "Oh god," like, I struggle with it, and then once I've made the decision, it's tough, but I sort of can swallow it and move on, and I still miss dance, I love it. I wanna be an old lady dancing at Alvin Ailey when I'm retired, but I'm like, "Alright, there'll be another chapter, and maybe it'll include that in my life in some other form."
I love that. As someone who, followed her passion to come to a city with no money, no connection, just a dream for fashion at 18,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to people at any age who feel just so lost and drained and not knowing what that spark is for them and not even understanding what passion means?
I think that for young people, you have been raised on a device that promises instant gratification, whether it's your car or your groceries or the Amazon Prime deal that you want.
Mm.
And you have to step away from that as normal and know that with your career, you don't get to do that. It is a long game. I'm doing this 20 years. In some ways,
Mhm.
I still feel like I'm starting over. And I think you have to get used to the slow burn. It's like when you cook a meal.
Mm.
Is it just eating it that feels good? It's not. It's the mental preparation. It's the recipe planning. It's the table setting. It's the cooking. It's the drinking the glass of wine while you're cooking. Then it's the sitting down and enjoying it with friends. It's that whole process.
Mm.
And I feel like you have to look at whatever you're doing as a whole process and like experiment. What brings you joy? Can that thing that brings you joy be something that pays for your life? And if it can, how do you do it? And how do you know that, okay, gonna lower my expectations. It's not gonna happen in a year. It's gonna happen over time. And I think I don't wanna say brainwashing, but I think
Mhm.
you have to unbrainwash yourself in a way that it's gonna take time to be sustainable and have build.
Absolutely. I think sustainability is often overlooked for the instant gratification, or there's a skewed expectation of what kind of reward passion is supposed to bring you. And maybe people are so close to their passion without knowing it's there because they often miss it.
Yeah, they can miss it, or maybe you have a job because you have to pay the bills and bring food home,
Hmm.
but your passion is something else. So it's not an instant, I can leave this and go here. Could you build something on the side? Is that a way to provide? And yes, it's going to be stressful having two jobs or, a side hustle, but can that be an eventual path? When I started Female Founder Collective, it was a passion. It was not a business strategy. It was like, oh man, women are getting the shitty end of the stick here.
Very.
So, how could I help them? And I'm lonely and I know there are other founders struggling. And so now that passion is a business, we're 7 years old.
Mm.
So it's sort of like you're on the treadmill and you also want to lift weights. Well, you got to like get comfortable on the treadmill before you can lift the weights. It's like this
Uh-huh.
game.
Oh my gosh, I can never do it.
Yeah.
Like,
But like sometimes it's a
we're
little bit of that in
mhm.
order to like get on the right track.
Right. For reference for people who are listening, Rebecca is patting her
And
head.
rubbing my tummy.
Yeah.
And
Or
I
like
do
try drawing a circle with your left hand and the rectangle with your right
at the
hand.
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often realize that I'm impatient with a lot of things too. And I've come to realize that it's a muscle you have to train to be impatient with input, but patient with output.
Oh, I like that. That's a good quote.
Thank you. Personal branding wise,
Yes.
how important was it to bring yourself as like a forward facing founder for the growth of Rebecca Minkoff?
It was really critical in the beginning, and then we began to go, "Okay, for the brand to live on its own,
Mhm.
it can't be so connected," and I think we tried to pull it apart a little bit, and then we saw that that weakened the connection to my consumer, who was always like, "Wait, it was you." It wasn't just this, like, thing that's like, "We love this bag, and we think this." Who's
Mhm.
we, right? It's I, and so we sort of went like this again to, like, make sure that the connection between the 2 is really seen and felt.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily want to always do that, like, I joke when I'm shooting in Soho and I'm changing my pants on the side of the street because I refuse to go to the dressing room because it's too far.
Wait, that is so relatable. I've done like try to change my outfits outside
Yeah,
in a non like flashing way so
yeah.
many times.
I mean, we rented a hotel room for me to change in, and I was like, "It's just too far, let's just get the shot, I'll take my pants off." Like,
It's
I
all
don't
about,
care.
yeah, efficiency.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that sometimes you don't wanna do those things, and I'll tell you when I had to do a selfie the first time in 2009, I was cringing because I was like, wait, I'm a designer and my job is to design, not to be an entertainer or
Mm.
media entity. And that was a really hard thing for me to get over. And once I got over it and I was like, she wants to see the life. She wants to buy into who the person is for her to be proudly carrying the bag. And then it became easier. And now I don't think about it, but it's always interesting when you meet a founder, they're like, oh, I don't want to have a personal brand and I don't want to be forward facing. And I'm like, welcome to the world. You better be, because there are a lot of creators who have huge companies that they built after that love and passion that people have for them.
Yeah. I think it's often forgotten that it's the most powerful form of marketing, tying it to your story, but it also comes with a price where you become a public facing, I wouldn't say brand or a construct, but people almost objectify you and they project things onto you where they don't get to see the full you, the full dimension of you.
Yeah.
What are some misconceptions about you online that you've experienced in the past?
Someone said something to me recently, like, your image is so perfectly curated. I was like, it is? I don't think it is. I mean, I think you get different slices for different, like, if I'm podcasting, I'll swear. I'm not going to swear on Instagram. Like, I also feel like Instagram is visual. And so when I'm swiping and I see someone's like lid of their cup and their toenail and their like messy room, I'm not inspired. I know that it's cool to be real,
Mhm.
but I'm looking to get inspired when I'm on the platform. And so I try and keep things inspirational and real. I'm not faking anything, but I'm also not trying to show you, like, oh, this is what my son left in the toilet for me this morning. Like, does that help the
Mhm.
brand? I don't think so.
Right.
And then I think that was, I guess, weird to me that someone thought I was like too perfect. Like I'm sitting there stressing out about the perfection, which I'm not at all.
Oh, well, you definitely come across as a very aspirational and inspiring figure on the internet. So I think maybe they're talking about that part. But how do
Maybe.
you balance like relatability versus aspiration? Because I feel like the brand is both. Coming across to me, like Rebecca Minkoff is that girl. She's both cool and extremely relatable all at the same time.
I try and make it be the voice that you read, whether it's in the captions or when you hear me talk or when I'm speaking or when I'm doing, stories or TikTok, doing whatever trend is happening at the moment. I just try and keep it light. Like, I don't ever want to be that serious. We are not a luxury brand selling you a $20,000 product that has to maintain a certain amount of snobbery.
Hmm.
And you're even noticing some of these brands start to loosen up. Some of these luxury brands are starting to loosen up because I think it's just not real anymore. Like, you want to have your girlfriend who you think is cool and fun and you like her style. Like, that's my goal is I want to be your girlfriend.
Mm.
Not your girlfriend, but my customer's girlfriend.
I love that. Was it a conscious decision in the beginning, or how did you find that sweet spot to land on the market in terms of price spectrum?
When I landed on the price point, there was an emerging market. So prior to like the group of designers that sort of launched contemporary handbags, as they were called now, accessible luxury. This is pre Tory Burch. Kate Spade is just getting hot. Michael Kors is just getting hot.
Mhm.
Everything was like $5,000 Chanel, $20 at Target. And there was not really a middle. And we became the pack of designers of like bags at $500. Even for me as a girl making $23,000 a year, $500 was not even something I could afford. So the irony of I'm making bags and I'm pricing them for a girl like me who can't afford it.
Mhm.
But that felt like, okay, one day I can afford a $500 bag. There was just this zeitgeist at the time, Sex in the City, women reclaiming their independence, being self-made women, that I thought was incredibly exciting, and I wanted that life.
Mhm.
And I thought, you know what? Let's call it the morning after bag because she wants to go out, have a good time with her girlfriends, end up with a guy. Who knows what happens? And then she can do her proud walk. It's not a walk of shame. It's her morning after bag, and she can walk home with that sort of, I don't want to call it a badge of honor, but she can walk home with that like little pep in her step that she had a good night.
I guess. I love the story of the bag because everything kind of fell into place. It was a small, misunfortunate event where the bag was supposed to end up in a famous film production, but it couldn't make it in time.
Yeah.
And you ended up being the model and the organic marketing that blew it up.
I walked around New York City pouting and sad, and I was getting stopped on the
Wearing your
street
bag.
wearing my bag. I was like, "I'm a failure. I'm nothing. How am I gonna pay back this debt that I have?" I was like, by that point in time, I was about $60,000 in debt from the apparel because
Mhm.
I am not good at math, people. And I was just like, "What am I gonna do?" And then one day, standing on Fifth Avenue near this old store called Henry Bendel, and they were like known as the hottest. They would carry the hottest brands, and the woman was like, "Who's your bag from?" Another woman, "Who's your bag from? Who's your bag from?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Let me see if I could sell this." And that was kind of the beginning of it.
That's beautiful. It's all meant to be in a beautiful way.
Yeah, yeah.
What other, like, very scrappy or unplanned type of marketing are you really fond of from the growth of Rebecca Minkoff?
So I did a two-part series. I'm gonna continue it. It was inspired by Sarah Blakely. She's like unhinged things I did when starting my brand.
I love those.
And so I wrote a bunch. I used to stand in Union Square. I used to give out postcards telling people where to buy my clothing. We did scavenger hunts all over the city. Like,
Oh,
we
that's
would
so fun.
publish, you know, I think we probably published it on Twitter, maybe was the scavenger hunt.
Mhm.
And then women would take pictures of the location when they found the hint. And then, so we had sometimes 1,000 women looking for the bags all over the city. I did Tupperware parties where I'd have like friends of friends host parties and I'd show up with bags. They'd have wine and cheese. I'd leave with cash. It was really and solely built from grassroots efforts because we didn't have a budget. We didn't come with like some deep pocket of cash. And when I say we, it was my brother and I, and he was mortgaging his house. He was maxing out his Amex. This was before the days of raising money, which a
Mhm.
lot of people turned to. And that wasn't even a possibility. So it wasn't even in our minds that we could do that.
You're very good at setting boundaries. You were called, quote unquote, boring after the show Real Housewives.
No, during the show.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah, during.
From an alternative perspective, boring, what does boring mean, right? It's just you're not involved in drama. You keep very clear of what your boundaries are, of what to share and what not to share. So I think in a sense, it's almost a testament to how strong you stand by your boundaries. What was the initial reaction? How did you feel when you first came on the show and the reactions weren't overall positive? And how did you learn to really build these strong and clear boundaries?
So I think that I was primarily leading up to the show, primarily lucky in that the only criticism I ever got was from in the past, like fashion critics criticizing my line or, when the newspaper review was the most important thing
Hmm.
and reading like the people that shit on you. Outside of that, my consumer's always been kind. I've never really had a lot of trolling.
Your girls.
My girls were good to me.
Hmm.
And then you enter the Bravo universe. And I was not prepared for we're going to attack you even though you didn't do anything. And that was like whoa, okay, cool. And I would repeat this mantra. I interviewed a woman, Christine Olzowski from Nomadica Wines last summer.
Hmm.
And she was like, only take advice from people whose lives you want. And so anytime I would read a headline or a troll would troll me, I'd literally click on their profile. Oh, yeah? Don't want your fucking life. And then it kind of washed over me because I was like, wow, that's a miserable human who can only get their information to be read by being mean.
Hmm.
And then it takes the sting away because it's not personal. That's the only way they can survive. Hearing from the cast that I was boring or whatever, like that hurt. And I talked to Sai about it on camera and off, like that hurt.
Hmm.
She clarified it, then she lied about it, then, and I was like, I guess if being boring is having a really successful career, a happy marriage, not getting into petty shit, like I'll take that any day.
It sounds just like peace. Honestly, it's
I
something
was
that
like,
people are trying to strive for and meditate hours for.
right, and pay for therapy for.
Yes.
But I also have to say, like, the show comes with a certain expectation, viewers,
Right.
that you're gonna bring your crazy.
Hmm.
And I think where that didn't meet up for me in the show, and maybe why Sai said that about me, is she knew what it had been like to be on season 1, film it, and knew that you had to bring a little of that. Whereas I was going into this season 2 with the producer saying to me, "We don't need that. We don't want that. This is a show about elevating 8 women,
Hmm.
and we're doing a different kind of show." So I was like, "Great. I don't need to bring the crazy." So I think her view and what the fans want and what the producers thought they should want, nothing matched up.
Mm.
And so, yeah, if you wanna be entertained on that level, I'm not your girl, which is why I didn't go back.
I love the clarity and awareness.
It's hard for a lot of people. I was talking to a Bravo celebrity, and they're like, "I need one more season to, like, really squeeze out the deals and the opportunities," and I was like, "Oh, that sucks. That sucks that you need the show so badly and you're willing to give up your sanity to, like, boost your career. I get it, but, like, it just made me sad that, like, that they had to take it to make a couple more things kinda work.
Absolutely. It feels like almost betraying yourself in a way.
I couldn't betray myself. I couldn't betray, like, what I stood for with other women and my entire female founder collective. Like, how could I be like,
Yeah.
"I support women," and then I'm gonna go bash them on TV? Like, the 2 did not match up, and I was like, "I'm not cracking, guys. You can keep trying to get me to crack, but I'm not gonna do it."
I love it. It's really inspiring to see someone hold a healthy boundary, especially being a person so publicly facing.
It was hard. It was really hard. Like, my husband had to watch me go through these
Mhm.
things, and I didn't want my kids, to experience, but he can tell when I'm not here, when I'm with you, but I'm not with you, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, you were gone for like 9 months." And I was like, "I know, and I'm sorry, because it's a lot. It's a lot to go through, and I'm not Teflon, right? I can not want that person's life, but it still sucks,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite creating content for many years, and I know some people just troll because they have too much time or they're projecting things, like words are still kind of weapons at
They are.
times.
They are weapons. Someone said the other couple months ago, like, "With all that success, you should fix your teeth." And I was like, "I think they're right. I should fix my teeth."
What do you mean? You have great teeth.
I have this crooked tooth that I like was like, "You know what? When I'm 60, that's not gonna be endearing, so we're gonna fix my teeth."
Whatever you do that makes you happy, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it because of that troll, but I was like,
Right.
"Huh, maybe they're right. Maybe I do need to fix my teeth."
There's like a slight nuance between constructive criticism versus just pure hate.
Yes.
I think it often stems from credentials, like do they have the credentials to back it up? Do they have skin in the game?
Yes.
And secondly, intention.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to have both.
Yeah, and I think when you walk away from someone, if it's slimy or if it's like that hurt, but they're right. You can really tell if someone's actually like, hey, I got to give you some feedback, man. Like that project was bad, but I want to help you. Or good luck on that project. Like you can tell in tone and intention.
Hmm.
And I think when you can become an expert at that, it really helps you not take things so badly.
That is so true. Has you being on the show impacted your personal brand or the brand of Rebecca Minkoff in any sense?
The fascinating thing about this experiment that I went on was, you said I'm good at drawing boundaries, but if you saw the website traffic spikes I saw and the interest in the brand and the press, you'd be like, oh, you got to keep going.
Oh,
Every Tuesday, traffic would triple to the site, that it would stay doubled Wednesdays and Thursdays.
really?
So that was
Wow.
like a whole bunch of new eyeballs.
Is it just traffic or actual conversions?
It was both. The conversions took longer. We had to, like, go through the whole new cycle and hit our 10 times and all that fun stuff. And then, the Instagram grew by a lot. My personal Instagram grew by probably 35,000. I think I was at 5,000 when I started, and I only started it, like, maybe 6 months before. And then, to see that be at 40,000, it's not a lot, but,
Mhm.
like, to have it grow while the show was on. And then, when you talk about 20 years, to get an industry to still wanna talk about you 20 years later, like, what's your new thing? And you can't just have a new bag. And so I think it gave people an interesting thing to talk about.
Mhm.
And that was hard to walk away from, that those opportunities
Mhm.
and that kind of interest and excitement and like brand deals and all that. And you're just like, okay, you know what? Not the right platform. Like, respect everyone who does it, but like, not for me.
Again, I think it goes back in full circle into intuition and knowing what's right and not right for you.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the hardest decision you had to make or the hardest no you had to say throughout your career?
Oh my God, the hardest no.
Mhm.
What about the yes I should have taken?
Oh, that works too.
We took in private equity in 2012. That was when the handbag arena was hot and people were investing big. And it was a chance to expand and grow the company. It was a chance to pay me a real paycheck, pay my brother a real paycheck, and, open stores, launch new categories.
Which you were not paying yourself a real paycheck. I remember hearing this from your fireside chat,
Yeah.
and you paid yourself minimum wage for
Way too long. But we didn't have it. Like, everything was going back into the company. It's not like we were, like, watching the numbers in the bank account grow, and I was like, "Well, I'll still take 23 grand a year." It was like, "Where is it gonna come from?" I think that when we got our private equity investment, maybe I was making that was year 7, maybe I was making 100K a year,
Mhm.
and I was a new mom, and if you're in New York City, that doesn't go very far, when you combine it with my husband and but you're paying a nanny. Anyways, so there was a chance to, like, sort of finally feel like, "Oh, all the sacrifice is worth it." And a year later, we got an incredible opportunity and offer, which was at the time very innovative. He was like, 30% of your business should be e-com, 30 wholesale, 30 direct to consumer.
Mhm.
No one was doing that yet. He was gonna, make us feel whole in that we were excited to continue with the company, but also not like, how am I gonna pay my cell phone bill? And wasn't as savvy about business as I am now. And I was like, well, the PE firm doesn't want to do it because they're like, oh, if we're getting this now, just you wait, you know? And looking back, that guy was a visionary and I would have been so lucky to work with him. And so that was a yes I should have taken. And I should have acted like an insane person until I got my way.
Mhm.
And we should have done that. As far as a no,
I'm also curious, like, what made you say no at the time?
well, at the time, I just took what the PE firm said at face value. They said, no, if he is already valuing the company at this valuation now,
Mhm.
just imagine in a couple years what it'll be. And in a couple years, we had a recession, things weren't as valuable. And then by then, brands had the direct to consumer strategy and rollout. We would have been first to market in that respect and been able to like really be game changers. And we were, but
Mhm.
not to the degree that we could have working with this man.
Gotcha.
I don't have a no for you yet. I feel like I say
Ooh.
no and I don't have regrets about it.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard to say no to housewives. It was hard to say no to coming back because of reasons why I outlined to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think, after you survive a season, you're like, oh, now I know how I could have played their game. I'm not saying I would have been fake or false, but I just wouldn't have been so, I don't know, serious about it.
Mhm.
I could have had more fun with it.
I respect that. As someone who has really strong boundaries, I also find it really fascinating that you're very, very transparent and an open book with a lot more things that I think take a lot of courage. For example, Scientology and your association with it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of backlashes that could come from that,
Yep.
from the online commentaries, yet you decided to be very transparent about it.
Yep.
I'm wondering, has that really impacted your personal brand or the brand Rebecca Minkoff?
It has had no negative impact. I think that people are curious. Everyone is looking for some sort of, like we talked about earlier,
Hmm.
some sense of calm and peace in a really fucked up world,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And I think that for me, I can only speak to my experiences in it. And for me, it's made me feel calm. It's
Hmm.
made me feel like I can communicate better, like I am a better mother. And I know the feeling of anxiety because I had it, you know?
Hmm.
And I just tell people, you could probably go read a bunch of shitty comments about any subject or anything.
That's so
I'm
true.
also Jewish. Look what's happening right now in that world. And I think it's like go to the source and figure it out for yourself. You cannot listen to like what a random person on the internet has to say. And I said this on TV. I said in a world where there's millions of church members, are there going to be dissatisfied people? Yeah. But take any industry or any faith and you're going to have some dissatisfied people. Okay. It either works for you or it doesn't, and you have to find that place of like, what do I want to improve in my life? What have I not been able to figure out? And is this a tool that helps me? And I've gotten many tools from it.
Absolutely.
So, yes, people have their opinions, but I didn't lose any friends. I didn't lose any customers or brand deals. Like, I suffered no negativity except for the tabloids
Mhm.
who thrive on negativity. So
That's
they had
very true.
more fodder to work with because they could write about me. Okay, good job. You guys got your paycheck this week. I'm proud of you. Whatever.
Literally.
That was it. The negativity was the negative tabloids doing their thing.
Mhm.
But I have I have the people I love, and if you don't wanna know me because of it, then that's fine too.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Speaking of transformation and rebrand, I want to talk about love.
Ooh.
How has being in love helped you grow or changed you as a person?
So I've been with my husband almost 18 years. We've been married for 16.
Congrats.
Thanks. Obviously, you have that, like, hot and heavy, we're gonna be in love like this forever, and then it changes as you have kids and you're, like, companions and parents and lovers. But I feel like at the end of the day, I know I have this rock that I can come home to, that's
Mm.
always, like, just there. And, like, "What do you need? How can I support you, babe?" And I try and not take that for granted. I think sometimes I do. And then in my moments of feeling the worst and lowest, I'm like, "Oh, I have him. Thank God." And so I think that, when a woman does decide to have a career and she does have a partner, it is so critical that they're there to support and nurture and love and, be like, "Yes, you got this, babe. You got this." And he's
Mhm.
always been my cheerleader or cheerman.
Oh, I'm so touched. When did you know that he was the right person for you?
So I had been painfully in love with my ex and could not get over him. Tried to date my way out of thinking about him, and I compared every single guy I met to my ex. And I actually went out to LA thinking he had said some things to me. I was like, we're going to get back together. It's going to be great. And when I was on my way to his house, he's like, I got a girl here. You can't come over. And I was like, I flew here because of what you said. And now you have a girl. So I rerouted. My parents were living in LA at the time. And I just went home and I said, I'm going to make a list. Like, what do I actually want? And does this guy fit the criteria? And as much as I wanted him to, he didn't. And so then my friend called and she invited me to a party. And that's where I met my husband. And I just kept going, like, okay, let me go back to my list. And I think it's critical to like write down what you actually want, what warts you can live with. Not everyone's perfect.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't believe it. I got very specific on physical, mental attributes, like the whole package.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, he's that." And then, the stuff that's like a wart, like I can live with that. Like I have my warts too. And I think that I feel like some people choose their partner because of the dramatic, like, yes, is it great to fight and then have makeup sex? Sure.
Mm.
But like that's not stable.
The
Yeah,
emotional roller
the emotional
coaster.
roller coaster, or is it hot if they're always, like, keeping you at a distance and you're always wanting them? Like, my ex did that, right? He always had me at a distance and he'd, like, throw me little nuggets.
I feel like you'll be saving a lot of young women just from this conversation right now including myself,
Yeah.
because I think it's very easy to misjudge a strong feeling as love when it could just be
Lust.
lust, stress response, or trauma. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think listen, it's really hot to almost always be like, does he like me? Oh, he threw me a crumb. Oh, this is hot. Like, now I got him. Oh, wait, does he want me again? Like, I was on that train for probably 5 years with this ex.
Okay.
And it keeps it exciting and it's like a romance novel. But like if you want to have kids
Uh-huh.
or be a dog parent, like you want a partner that is stable, you know where you stand, there's no games. I'm giving my friend love advice right now. She's like, I don't know if I should text him because it's been a couple of days and he hasn't
Mm.
texted me, blah blah. I was like, don't you just want to know? Like send the fucking text. If it's too forward for him, you shouldn't be with him anyways. It's like being in the middle, like I spoke of earlier, like clear the air.
Mhm.
I'd like to pursue something with you. You don't seem to be that into it. Let me know. If not, have a great summer. And then you know.
Mhm.
And I just kept reminding myself, like, I want a future with a guy I can count on as a father, as a husband. Life's already hard enough. You don't want to be questioning your relationship with like the person who's going to be living with you.
I need to hear this. I'm sure someone else does too.
And it's not easy, and you learn a lot by dating, you learn these things, and then you go home and you take out your list and you cross things off and you add stuff to it. I read that list to my friend right before I met Gavin. So, like, I'm a big believer in manifesting what you want and don't settle.
Period.
And if you can change, like, whatever, if it's something that's changeable, great. If they have ugly feet, then you can live with that.
The negotiables and the non-negotiables.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you shouldn't feel like you're ever in uncertain waters with someone. Like, that's not a good feeling. That shouldn't be who your lover is.
Mm. That's a key indicator.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes our intuition or like we intrinsically know, but we hate to admit it to ourselves.
Yeah. Also, I was listening to a podcast, and again, I am not a nutritional or medical expert,
Mhm.
so go do the research on your own. This fascinated me. The woman who's a hormone expert said that women on birth control pills, they did a study. You saw this too?
Mhm.
They will inevitably choose the wrong partner. And that blew my mind. And I was on the pill and I was like crazy on it. Not when I
Oh.
met him, but
Okay.
in my life. And I was like, I know what it did to me and how it changed me and how I acted. And I was a little cuckoo on it. And I was like, I can't imagine then marrying a guy and then you get off it. You're like, who did I marry? And why did I pick this as my partner?
Mhm.
So that's fascinating to me. So maybe like get off the pill and then see if you still like that guy.
That's so true. Yeah, this is not a medical podcast, but I find
Definitely
it
not.
really fascinating how when you're on the pill, you tend to choose partners who have more similar genetic makeup and are less attracted to your genetic making versus when you're off the pill.
It's
So
wild, wild.
that is crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's changing your brain and your chemistry and your hormones. Like, it's gonna obviously change what you're attracted to, which is crazy to me.
So true.
And there's other forms of contraception, so don't worry. You can still be safe.
That's true. That is true. I'm also curious though, as a woman on the rise to build her fashion empire when you met Gavin, did you ever think about creating a prenup or was that ever a concern of yours?
My prenup was on a napkin right before we went to the courthouse. So we got married in the courthouse here, and then we did a wedding in Italy. We didn't wanna deal with Italian paperwork. We thought New York City paperwork would be better, and I was like at that time, just to give context for my prenup, my business was maybe doing like $500,000 a year.
Mhm.
No, 2009, maybe 5,000,000, but still not profitable. I'm not taking home a big paycheck. We had roommates, mama's not like, ooh, let me do a prenup because I'm loaded and you're not. He was having the beginning of his career as a director, which he is now. My prenup was based solely on the Met life insurance inheritance that my grandma gave me. That's like when I die, my kids get. Okay. That was the big whopping prenup. I was like, I got to protect my future kids' inheritance. And so we did it on a napkin because I was like, what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. And that was
Mhm.
it. I don't even know where the napkin is. When we got more sophisticated in will and estate planning, we basically came to the conclusion that if either one of us passes and the other person remarries, everything is in a trust and goes to the kids just to protect those assets that each of us have built on our own from what I call a floozy. But it could be a nice lady who doesn't want a diamond or a new house. Could be her.
Mhm.
So that was how we structured it is like to both of us, our kids are priority and a new person entering the mix should one of us pass.
Mhm.
be the cause for my kids to get nothing.
Makes sense.
And as far as a prenup, yeah, there's no prenup, so, like, whatever. I guess we just split it down the middle.
Sounds good. And how has your relationship with money evolved throughout the years? Because you started out in 60K credit card debt
Yeah.
to starting making a reasonable income and then to eventually be able to feel secure. So I'm wondering, how has that changed over the years?
It's a mind fuck, and I'll say that that stress and pressure of being in debt 60K or in different life cycles of our business when we were millions in debt, it never leaves you. And so even if you're achieving success, not everybody, but me, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm like a squirrel and like hiding it in different places and I don't have it." And I can't seem to get out of that scarcity mindset because I've been living or we lived in scarcity for so long
Mhm.
and we bootstrapped for so long.
Yeah.
And I get myself comfortable with like a little bit more and a little bit more, but I still have that like I'm $60,000 in debt feeling even though it's been 20 years. So I
Wow.
guess I need to go to more therapy to work on that.
At least you're aware of it,
Yeah.
but you still have that kind of ringing alarm bell up to this day.
Yeah, when I see the credit card bill, I'm like, "How am I gonna pay that?" You know, and then I still have those weird panic attack not panic attacks because 'cause I'm not, like, having it to that degree, but I have that
Mhm.
panic of like, "Oh shit, how am I gonna pay for this? Oh shit, how am I gonna pay for this?" And I think it's, it's not just 1 year of 60K in debt. It was when you're growing and scaling a business, it is a very expensive endeavor, and no one should be innocent to that. There were times when we owed our bank $20 million, and you're just like, "How are we gonna pay for that?" And we did, and we made loan payments, but it's scary. I don't think you get out of that easily. Maybe when you sell, like, Poppy for 1 billion, you're like, "Yes, let it roll." But I think that I'm not there yet. I mean, in both respects. I didn't sell for 1 billion, and
Mhm.
I'm not there in the mindset.
But I really respect the honesty. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's completely unexpected because I thought maybe at a certain stage that mindset naturally shifts, but maybe it's like a more intentional rewiring of your brain circuitry.
Yeah, but it's also, I think, how I was raised. Like, we were raised in this very much like, if you want it, earn it household.
Mhm.
And my parents did not have a lot of money. And so they were very thrifty. And I'll never forget, I have a really good friend who, during COVID, we stayed with my parents. We were using my mom's like minivan from 1994. It's falling apart. And I was perfectly happy to drive it around town. And my
Mhm.
friend invites me to this party, and I show up, and people show up in their nice cars, and I show up in this like hoopty. And he's like, "What is wrong with you? Like, just get a nice car." I was like, "I'm good." So I feel like I have this high low in me that I will never shake, that I'm just like, I'm comfortable staying at the youth hostel, and I also want the nice things like going on a great boat trip. Like, there's definitely a high low to my life that good or bad is there.
Yeah. I think you're just very clear about what you want and not mistaking other people's desires as your own.
Correct. And I think that some of the things that are signals to people of wealth
Mhm.
or like I've made it, like I don't necessarily care about, like the hoopty that I was driving around. And other things I'm just like, I don't need to prove to you anything. And so if I'm comfortable in this, then great.
I love it. And how was that decision to kind of become a mother when you weren't exactly financially stable yet because you were still growing the business and building?
My mom was in my ear. She's like, "You're 30 years old. Your ovaries are going to turn to dust soon, and you got to hurry it up." She was saying that on one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum was, I love my parents so much. And I was like, I want my kids to spend as much possible time with these two crazy people as possible.
Mm,
And I didn't get to have a long relationship with my grandparents. Two of them passed in a car accident. I never knew them. One died when I was 8, and one died when I was 18. And
mhm.
I missed that closeness. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to have kids. I'm still enjoying our single married life. When I say single, childless, I should say married life. And then I started feeling like, okay, we've been to this restaurant, we've been to this club, we went on this trip, like all these great things, but like check, check, check. And I was like, I'm not totally ready because I don't want to have to wake up early for anyone, but like, let's just see what happens.
Mm,
And so even through the first pregnancy, I didn't wanna vocalize it because I didn't want the baby to, like, hear my negative thoughts or feelings, and so I would text my husband who was sitting right next to me, I'd be like, "This was a big mistake. We should not have done this.
oh,
I am
you were
not ready for a
texting him?
child." Yes, and he would be like, "You're pregnant. We're having a baby. It's too late for those thoughts." And then he was born, and I looked at that little face, and I was like, "Fuck I should have done this sooner. Like, I didn't know the love that you can feel when you have a child. And I was like, I'll have 100 more if I can. Like, I am addicted to that love. Clearly, I kept going because I have 4 now. And
That's
if I didn't have to get
amazing.
pregnant again, I would have more.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that purest love, I could feel it just sitting here.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
very,
pure.
very touched.
Yeah.
If there is like one single trait you want your children to have, what would they be? What would it be?
I just want them to be, like, kind people, like, doesn't have to mean you're nice all the time or you have your manners, but, like, good-hearted. Like, my first is just a really kind, earnest person, and I love that about him. My daughter's feisty, so I gotta, like, tame her.
She's so cute.
She's really cute, but she's like I appreciate that she's so strong and feisty because I'm like, you need this." And then my baby is very similar to my first ones. They're very similar in their sweetness. Like, even the 2-year-old be like, "You okay, mom? You okay?" Like, if I sigh, like, if I take a really deep sigh, like, "You okay, mom? You okay?" I'm like, "You're 2. How do you know this shit?"
Wow.
So, just nice people.
That's a superpower at such a young age.
Yeah, no, he's definitely from somewhere special, I don't know.
From you.
I know, but, like, they're all so different, like, I'm like, "You came from somewhere."
Speaking of kindness, what's the kindest thing that someone has ever done for you?
I guess while we're talking about babies, there is a role that is like a woman can play, or a man, I guess you could play this role as a doula. My husband calls them birth producers. They're not a doctor, they're that in between that, like, is
Mm.
there to support you as you're going through the most painful experience of your life, and an experience if it's your first, like, no one can prepare you for it because you've never done it. And to have someone sit there through your ugliest, grossest moments and just be like, "I'm gonna take care of her, and I'm gonna make her feel safe, and I'm gonna, like, make her pain go away by massaging her. I'm gonna wipe her ass, or I'm gonna, like, feed her from a straw," like, just that someone could be so selfless when you're the most vulnerable. And then afterward, like, "Can I get you some mango? Can I get you a croissant?" Like, so her name is Latham Thomas. She was there for the birth of 3 of my babies. And
Mm.
it's a really beautiful and underserved arena of women who just are there to serve and make the woman feel like they have support.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful life purpose.
It's so selfless. Like, you're waking up at all hours, you're there while someone has poop and pee and who knows what coming out of them, and you're just like, "I got you, girl. Let me wipe your forehead with a wet washcloth." It's pretty selfless, but they get to be part of something magical, which is, like, when you have a baby.
That is beautiful. How is it running a business with family? And did that ever change your relationship dynamic?
Yeah, so we spent, I'd say, the first 4 years really respecting each other's lanes, and that was great. And when we
Mm.
started getting in each other's lanes and giving each other's opinions about things, definitely sparks flew. What I'll tell anyone about working with a sibling or a spouse is you have to have, like, a business counselor to
Mm.
help you. At least for us, we ended up hiring someone that once a year we would, like, get off all of our pent up whatever. We had a neutral third party who could help us solve our issues, and we would come away with, like, literally a written, like, "I will not do this, and I will do more of this," that we could hold each other accountable on and be like, "Hey, you're violating number 2 right now," or he could say to me, like, "Number 3 is in violation." I'd be like, "Yes, you're right." And so that was helpful, but it's not easy. I hear complaints from solo founders, like, they're lonely and they have no one to bounce ideas off of.
Mhm.
And then you hear people that have co-founders, "She's not working as hard as I am," or married couples, I don't that to me sounds like a death sentence. Like, I would never do that. And we're good now. We're back to being just brother, sister. He exited the business. And so it was great and also hard, and you have to work at it like anything.
And to wrap things up, as the author of Fearless,
Yes.
if fear does not exist, what would you be doing right now?
Here are the things I'm scared of: sharks, skydiving,
Alligators?
alligators, zombies. So I guess I'd be like skydiving into like a shark infested waters. I don't know. I don't not do this because of fear, but I would love to just move to another country, take up a new career, and like just see what happens. And I don't not do it because I'm scared. I'm just like, ugh, I gotta uproot my kids. I gotta get them into a new, like, it's more of like a pain in the ass. But I'd love to like move to France, learn how to bake, like, what's her name? Julia Child. Like, move to Paris, learn how
Oh,
to cook, become Julia Child, open an Airbnb in Provence, and just call it a day, and you never hear from me again.
that is fascinating. That is fascinating. If you ever do that, please keep me posted
Send you a
or
DM.
keep it private because it's the little joys in life that you want to treasure and just like keep to your own heart. So, whatever you do, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
But thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your insights, wisdom, vulnerability. I learned a lot from you, and thank you so much for creating such a beautiful brand that women like myself enjoy and just like geek out on.
Oh,
Where
thank
can everybody find you?
So you can buy my stuff at Rebecca Minkoff. You can follow me at Rebecca Minkoff, personal things at Becky Minkoff. You can buy my book Fearless. You can listen to my podcast, Super Women with Rebecca Minkoff, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Highly recommended. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yay.